Welcome to Miramore Consulting, and today happens to be an onboarding session for some of our new participants. So far, I can see 2 persons on board. There are supposed to be 11 other persons. So that's the reason why the class, both our onboarding sessions, everything we do here is covered. What I mean is that it is recorded, so you can, at your own convenient time, go through the recorded sessions. You practice, then you DM your instructor in any area you have questions. Now, most times, a lot of participants will ask, what's the whole essence of an onboarding session? Now, when it comes to data analytics, an onboarding session serves as an orientation. I think that's a better word to use. When you hear onboarding, it just means orientation. We understand that to some persons, this happens to be an entirely new career path, a new field. You've been hearing of tech and all of that. You've been hearing of data and all of that. So this is a new field. So what we do here is to first of all ensure that we give you a sound orientation. Now, what this orientation is about is to help you get to be familiarized with the course structure. Not just only the course structure, the objectives. Not only the objectives, the tools. Not only the tools which you'll be learning as far as this career path data analytics is concerned, but also expectations. We always put it, as part of the benefits, we make it known to our participants that one benefit we assure you of is that by the end of the training, you'll be able to beat your chest and say that, yes, you're a data analyst. And that has to do with the expectation, your goal. So each time we give you a form to fill, our student registration form, that's one of the important things we are looking out for. We are not more concerned about your name and all of those information you have provided, but the expectation. What's your goal? What are you expecting at the end of the training you should have achieved? Because everything here about data analytics, most times participants will try to ask questions like, sir, what's the difference between data science, data analytics, and all of those? And I keep telling them that these things are terminologies. They all have one goal. And what's the goal? The goal is to be able to turn raw data into meaningful information. And in this onboarding, I'm also going to, expose you to the different levels of data because it's very important to understand. Now, we'll be looking at exploring different tools, and you must know that here we look at these tools as a person. And every human being has a heart, and there is something inside the heart. Okay? Now, when we talk about a human heart, I believe, I am not from the medical line, but I know blood is also there. If blood is not there in the heart, then that human won't be alive. So same way, these tools which you will use as a data analyst, which you will be learning, also has a heart. Now, what is at the heart of these tools is what we call data. So all through this training, you'll be seeing us working with data, working with different kind of data, different kind of projects. Don't be or at any panic mood. Don't see it as boring on all of that, because that's what is at the heart. That's what we do here. That's what you will work with as a data analyst. So the onboarding session typically serves as an orientation for you to familiarize yourself with the course structure. Now let's look at the course structure. So for the course structure, every participant will be sent. So this is the course structure for the training. It begins with giving you an overview on an introduction to data analytics, who a data analyst is, Why do we say data is everything? You will find out why. Seated right there, if you look around you, you're surrounded by data. Data can be a discussion. You're there, maybe in the office, maybe in your houses, maybe in your streets, in a computer center, wherever you may be. Those discussion, those words, people are, conversation are data. Now I'm going to tell you why it's data. Now, one of the reasons is because, take for instance, because you must know one way you get to understand, to be a well-sounded data analyst is you being able to relate what you have learned, okay, with real life problems, scenarios that occurs around your environment. And those are what we teach you. Those are what we refer to as, working with projects, because project has to come up from scenarios. So as a data analyst, you work based on certain scenarios of all kind. Now let's look at a first scenario, where you are at the moment. I don't know where you are, but I believe you're hearing some conversations, maybe in different languages and all of that. Now, those conversations are data, because if there should be an incident that takes place where you are, maybe one that relates to crime, or maybe one that relates to an outreach, or it could be a humanitarian, activity. Trust me, if a data analyst is required, part of what we call requirement gathering, which is part of the whole, the first level of data, what we call raw data. Now, those are informations you have to collate. Those are informations you have to gather. If someone was shot there, part of the investigation team, they will also look at different conversations, if there was to be a camera and all of that. And if they succeeded in getting, conversations, hearing conversations where maybe Mr. A was telling Mr. B, you should start coming. What do you think that you people should start coming means? It's going to aid during the investigation. They have to now try to analyze who said this, who made this statement, when did this happen. And these things also, has a relationship to do with the different type of data analytics that we have. When we talk about looking at past events, that brings us to what is known as descriptive analytics, where you're asked to analyze based on what has already happened. I don't want to take you much there, but I'm just trying to look at this whole concept of data is everything. That data is around us. Every day, go online, people are tweeting on X, people are, using WhatsApp to message, on Instagram, on Facebook, data discussion, people are discussing, people are messaging, everywhere things goes on. People are recording in businesses and all of that. A lot of activities going on. All those things are data. To a trading company, their sales records are their data. To a church, their program, their activities and all of that are data. So you can see why data is everything. So here is giving you an orientation on familiarizing yourself with the cost structure. And you can see on the cost structure, it gives you detailed information on this. Okay, now, so this is the cost structure. This is the cost structure. And your first assignment after this boarding will be to register on kaggle.com. So I will talk about that shortly, but let's proceed. So I am going to send this to you for those of you who have not received it, so you go through it. So you can see the cost structure for SQL training. You can also see the cost structure for Power BI training. Okay, you can see the cost structure for Tableau training. So you can also see the cost structure for Microsoft Excel training. So get this. And so this is very, very important for you to get to understand this very well. So also, before we look at other aspects, these are just majorly the overview of the training program in the aspect of the overall curriculum you will be looking at. So let's move back. All right, now, first of all, what is data analytics? Now, everywhere they have their own definition and all of that. If you ask me in a simple way, I'll tell you that data analytics is just all about turning raw data into Now, when we say something is meaningful, it's a meaningful information, it means it can now be it can now be used. It is now useful, because something that is not meaningful can't be used. It's useless. And that's the first nature of data. The first nature of data is that data is useless. It's in raw form. We say it is in raw form because it can not derive meaning on its own at that point. So that's why you as a data analyst is needed to come and do what we call transformation. You have to transform it, pass through the different stages that we show you, different stages, the different steps you need to pass through for it to now, change from something that was not useful to what is now, useful. And that's the reason why you see at the end of the day, organizations, relying on the analysis, your report, what you have done, because it aids them. An organization might want to know what's their performance for the year, what measures should they implement for the upcoming months. There, you as data analysts need to come and do an analysis we refer to as predictive analytics, which looks into what might happen. And that's where, most times you might have heard of the word machine learning. Some of these techniques come into play. Why? Because those techniques, even with what you'll be learning here, helps you to be able to come up with what? Predictions. So all of these are data analytics. But here we define data analytics as those techniques that helps you to analyze data. Why? Because you want to be able to enhance productivity and business gain. So we'll be looking at this here. Every organization wants to succeed. No organization have a goal of not succeeding. They want to succeed, and that's where data analytics comes in, helping them in all areas, looking at every area, to ensure that at the end of the day they achieve their goal. So prepare your mind for this. Now let's talk about go into more detailed. Now data analytics also looks beyond all of what I'm said. I talked about different steps. So it looks into the aspect of collection. What do you collect? That's the first level of data. Raw data. That's what you collect. So you as an analyst must know that your first step is to collect. Whatever tool you're using, you must first of all collect the data, because if you don't collect the data, what do you want to now work with? So that's the reason why I talked about cargo.com. Remember, I talked about Cargo when I opened the course curriculum. So everyone on your system, go to your browser tab and enter cargo.com. Now, what are we coming here is because of collection. Now, the Cargo is an open source platform that is free of charge. Now, what we do here, we come here to collect data that we want to analyze based on practice. Hope we are following, because you can't use a data set that is here on Cargo to say you're doing a project for a company. No, the company must be the one to have given you their data. So whatever that is here is just for practice purpose, which means I might have prepared a data set myself. And since I'm a signed up member in Cargo, what do? I'm a registered member on Cargo. I will just come to Cargo and upload the data set I have prepared. Okay, so you should not, most times some persons will think that they will say they have done a project for a company. I'll ask them, where did you get the data from? They will say Cargo. That's not an existing company. It should be a gig. It should be a task you are assigned to do for a company. Then you have handled it for them. That's different. So as analysts, this is a platform you come and collect data and practice based on what you'll be taught in the classroom. So I believe this is clear. So please, when you open Kaggle, you will see the dataset section. Now, I will tell you what we mean by dataset shortly. But before that, come here, click on register if you don't have an account with Kaggle. So once you click on register, it brings you here. Then come down, you see here we have register with Google register with email. If you have your Gmail account already opened, okay, then if you click on register with Google, you know what it will do. It will bring it up for you to continue. But if you don't have that, you register with email. If I'm clicking register with email, you will see where it's going to take me to a new page. I should provide my email address, my password, which must be a minimum of 7 characters. I should enter my full name. You know, am I a robot and all of that? I click on next, blah, blah, blah. Before you know it, you're done and good to go. So next time, all you have to do is just to log in into Kaggle, and you get to have access to different data sets. Okay, now you click on sign in at that point because you're already an existing user. So once you get signed in to the platform, you then have you know, a complete access to all and all. So I will be expecting you to make sure you use this weekend signed up on Kaggle. Now, once you have signed up on Kaggle, you should be expecting to see this. I click here on sign in. I click on sign in with Google. Okay, so I should be expecting it to bring up so I can pick out our email address. So you can see it's going to show us welcome Miramar. Okay, so welcome Miramar. So if I need a data set I want to practice, I will come to data set by the left hand part of the screen. You see different models: home module, competition, data set. Now for data set, if I want to upload, I'm going to click on new data set because I want to upload a data set that I've already built. Okay, don't worry, be trained on how to build a data set. So here you come and browse files, then it takes you to your file explorer to be able to upload that information you want to bring in on board. But now we need a data that is already uploaded because we want to practice. Maybe you were given an assignment that go and analyze a data set for maybe a data set on cybercrime data set. So you come to Kaggle, you just focus your attention on this search bar section here. You type in what? Cybercrime. So you can see it will bring out all cybercrime data sets that other users have provided. This gives you insight because that's the essence of data analytics. You're transforming a raw data to something that insight can be uncovered from. So I can now come and say, oh, I'm seeing cybercrime in India from 2003. I click on it. Where will I go to download this data set? I'll come and click on what we call the download button here. And by the time I do that, if it's downloaded, I now need to go and check. Okay, let's say we click download. Now the next thing I need to check is what format of data is this? It's very important. That's why you're learning these tools. Let's try this. If I come here and I click on this archive file that opens, what format do you see? You can see this logo. That's Excel. That's Microsoft Excel, I believe. You can see that. So that tells us why you're learning Excel, you're learning SQL, you're learning Power BI and Tableau. Why? Because data is in different forms. So let's take note of that. Now, this whole process I just did now is what we call collection, data collection. So you see why in the first level of data, we begin with what? Raw data. What we have just collated now, yeah, is a raw data. Now the reason why this is a raw data, I'll show you why, is because we can't confirm the accuracy of this data. You can't just carry this data now and say it's okay. No. Before you even do that, what guarantees you? What makes you believe on this data? And of course, you can see how this one is looking. There might be missing information and all of that. So the first level is raw data, which must be collated. Most times can be sent to you. There is no problem. You need to collect the data you want to use, you want to analyze, and all of that. And you can see what we have here based on the cybercrime information, meaning maybe you have a project You then know how to go about this based on what you want to do for the Indian states. All right. So let's proceed with what we are doing here. Okay. So all of what we have just looked at is the aspect of collection. So once it has been collected, you then have to transform it. So what I'm trying to say is the fact being that data analytics is the collection, transformation, organization of data in order to draw conclusions, make predictions. I talked about predictions. I talked about decision making. So it combines various tools and techniques. Do you now see why here in Miramar we define it as those various techniques you have to use to analyze data to enhance productivity and business gain? So those techniques might be from statistics. Those of us that study statistics, you'll be seeing us learning some techniques when we are now talking about aggregate functions, statistical functions, tools, even in Excel. You see yourself using those analysis tool pack and all of that, mean, median, and all of that. Maybe correlation, looking at relationship. Might be you're given a data set and you're asked to analyze the relationship for a school. Maybe a school wants to know the relationship based on student performance and the number of hours they impute during their study and all of that. Okay, so the techniques will be from statistics, computer science, mathematics. You'll then be able to gain meaningful insight from structured and unstructured data. They are two different things. Structured data is a data that have been processed, prepared correctly. Unstructured, it's dirty. Nothing has been done on it. That's the nature of this very data we went and extracted from cargo. This one. This is an unstructured because we can't go with it. We don't know if there are missing information here until you go through it. Do what we call data cleaning. Do what we call indexing, normalization, and all of that. Before that, those are what now qualifies it as a structured data. But once those have not been done, it's not yet qualified to be called a structured data. So today, we have big data, which is on the rise. You've heard of artificial intelligence, different tools helping us solve problems because of big data issues. Now, with the rise of big data, the ability to collect massive amounts of information, becoming more complex. So data analytics skills are now more in demand than ever across whatever industry you might want to talk about. Majority of companies today use data analytics to optimize their operations. So people might ask you, what do we use data analytics for? One, to optimize operation of an organization or an entity. Two, to identify new opportunities. An organization might want to identify new opportunities in a new geographical location. They need you to help them analyze, to understand customers' behavior, customers' preference. Maybe a fast-moving FMCG firm wants to, maybe they want to build a supermarket, and it's an investment like ShopRite. But they first of all need to understand what's the preference of customers. They don't want to go into an investment that they will lose out of it. The organization has competitors. They want to be able to gain that competitive edge around that environment. They need data analytics. Now, what are the tools for data analytics? What are the common tools? Remember what I told you. Whether you're using any of these four, you must know that they all have one goal. Nobody should deceive you. One goal, which is what? to turn raw data into meaningful information. Now, you'll be learning these tools here in Miramar. The first is what we call Microsoft Excel. I've showed you what we extracted. This Microsoft Excel is a spreadsheet software. You can see it. This is it. So if you don't have it on your system, start to get it ready. Second tool is what we call the Power BI. Now for the Microsoft Excel, it is a spreadsheet software program used for data cleaning, analysis, and visualization. I don't call it a database system. You will find out why. Instead, I will call SQL a complete database system. Excel is not a complete one. Why? Because Excel as a software application has restriction and limitation. For instance, you are seeing a spreadsheet inside with cells. Here in Excel, each of these are data. You can see 0, 14. They are stored inside a cell. Now, these cells are inside two areas, the columns that I have highlighted and the rows. Row 2 highlighted, column B highlighted. Now, these columns have limits. That's 1 million plus. You can no longer create a new column. So if you have a data that is up to 2 million, that means you can't use it. You can't use Excel to analyze it. So will you call that a complete database tool? No. The same with the row. The rows in alphabets, if you move, you find out. In the rows in numbers, if you move, you also find out. You can see the columns in alphabets, just like that. Assignment for you, go and find out how many columns we have in Excel, how many rows we have in Excel. Power BI is another common tool. Every business wants a clear picture of their performance, how they are gaining those advantages and all of that. How are they doing? Power BI is useful in that aspect based on what we call data visualization. One thing is to analyze data, another thing is to visualize it. Visualization looks at graphical representation of that data in a way that even a layman, when he sees it, he will understand. We all pass through primary schools and all of that, and most of us know that some persons will tell you they understand something when they see it with their eye, not through listening. Those are visual learning formats and all of that. So that's what data visualization talks about. Shows you the presentation. For example, if I go to our course curriculum here, if I move straight up to the second page, you can see what we have here, data visualization in Excel, showing us a road accident dashboard. Now with this, it becomes clear, uncovering insights that at the end of the year, we recorded a total of 7,135 fatal casualties. There was casualties by car, 3348. Casualties by road type, highway, and just like that. These are insights uncovered. Now, this is visualization because with this kind of visuals being used here, it becomes easier for whoever, the management team, the board, to understand, because at the end of the day, clarity speaks. And believe me, management, board of companies, they are not interested in something that is not clear. They want something they can see and understand. If you're telling them that the company lost money, where did the company lose money? And show them, let them see it. Now, things like this have been visualized from raw data that you are given. You can see this raw data. Something like this have now been transformed into this. This is the beauty of it. And they cannot understand what are the casualties by areas. What are the casualties by light condition? Urban area, rural area. Number of casualties by vehicle type. Is it by bicycles? Is it by this? And all of that. If we move to the next one. Now, this visualization was done in what we call Excel. Now, we're talking about Power BI. That's to tell you that Excel can also visualize. Now, compare the visualization by Excel and that of Power BI. What do you notice? You can see the differences. So, Power BI focuses more here on visualization, though it has the analysis aspect, which is still geared towards effective visualization. You will learn all that. So I just want you to understand this, to pick this up so you can see the breakdown of what I'm talking about. So let's continue. So what I'm saying is that Power BI is a business analytics service for interactive data visualization and business intelligence. That's where data storytelling comes in, where you're able to, create a data story with your data. The next tool is what we call the Tableau. The Tableau and Power BI, they are competitors. Tableau is the oldest. They do the same thing, data visualization. So they all fall under a family we call business intelligence. So both of them are useful for data visualization, dashboard creation, storytelling, and all of that. SQL is the last tool you'll be learning as far as this data analytics course is concerned. It is a programming language for managing and querying databases. Managing and querying databases. Most persons will say that the SQL is a tool used to manage data stored in a relational database. They are all the same thing. I think the grammatic word here is relational. Relational just means relationship. And another grammatic word here is database. Database. We know what data is. Now, base, database. What does it talk about? Now refer back when I talked about we going to Kaggle. That we went to Kaggle. Why did we go to Kaggle? We said we went to a kind of extract our data here from Kaggle. Now the whole essence is because this data we're extracting is already stored in a database. Now let me simplify some of these terms clearly so you get to understand data first of all. Now think of data as an individual pieces of information. For example, many of us, where we grew up, we have been with mommy cook, prepare meal, and all of that. Some of us can prepare meals. Okay, I myself am a good chef. Now, now when you are cooking, there are ingredients you use when you want to cook. Data is just like each of those ingredients. For example, you want to prepare rice and stew. For stew, you need tomatoes, you need Maggi, you need salt, Nigeria stew, you need pepper. Each of these ingredients are the data. Hope we understand. Now, data set. I want to differentiate between data and data set. Data are those ingredients for that stew. The tomato, the Maggi, the onion, the pepper, the salt. Now, data set is like a collection of those each ingredients. Those individual ingredients are data. Now the collection of those individual ingredients, which are data now, all together, that's what data set is. It's just like you want to make plenty stew. So all those ingredients you need to do that is data set. That's why you saw that I called what we extracted a data set because it contains different ingredients. All these states now are like one onion, two onion, just like that. You can see. So the collection makes this a data set. We don't call this data again. The data are the single information. We call them data points when it comes to analysis. So you're saying that, hey, use also data points and analyze. That's what we mean. So if you have a data set like this now, it will now include all the different types of the information. Hope you understand, because those are what you have to use. And even in those aspects, I talked about database normalization and all of that. Okay, now what's now the difference between data? I've told you of data, the individual ingredients. I've taught you of data set, the collection of those ingredients, those individual ingredients. Now, how about database? Because what is bringing us to this issue now is database. Challenge now, database. And of course, we can see SQL is a programming language for managing and querying databases. Now, what's database? Now, database is like a kitchen. Remember, we say data are those individual ingredients you use to prepare your stew. We now say you now gather all of them because you're not just using only pepper to prepare that stew. You need other things, other ingredients. You now gather them. This is for the stew. There are now more than one ingredient. That's data set. Now, both the data and the data set are inside somewhere, inside a building, inside a room, under somewhere. Kitchen. That kitchen is the database. So where you store all those ingredients for the stew, those ingredients, all, data set, all. In SQL, you'll be seeing us using wildcard asterisks, all, when we are using the select statements to query databases, like you're seeing now. Okay, where you store all of them is what we call a database. What you're storing must be organized. Must have been organized. Remember the different stages we talked about. So what you're trying to say here is that that structured collection of data sets where it is stored is a database. So I believe you understand this. So in summary, whenever I hear data, it just means individual pieces of information, individual pieces, data points. When you hear data set, a collection of that individual pieces, which is the data, the collection. So this is a data set in a spreadsheet format. There are different formats, Python and others. This is data set in a spreadsheet format. And this is the most common tool you must know how to use as a data analyst, the Microsoft Excel for analysis. Then the database is now a structured collection of these data sets. And you remember what we said when we say data is structured. It means it's clean and also ready to be processed. So before we round up, you'll be learning, getting started with Microsoft Excel. So please get it ready on your system. And as I put down here, that the Microsoft Excel has many powerful features for analyzing and visualizing data. I showed you a visual done in Excel. So we use it to analyze and visualize. Now there are key capabilities like the pivot tables. We use that to summarize large data sets in Microsoft Excel. We have built-in statistical and financial functions, chart creation tools, data modeling features like Power Query, Power Pivot. All this allows you to import, clean, and relate data from various sources. For example, I'll talk about just this. If I go to my insert, over here, this section you see, let me click on enable editing. I just talked about the Power Query. So try this, go over, provided you have the data, go to Data tab. This part's called Get and Transform Data. That's what we refer to as the Power Query area. So I believe it's something you can as well go and check. This section under the Data tab. So go through that, you will see that you'll be able to fulfill what we are saying here. Being able to, import, clean. That's the usefulness of Power Query. Most times we'll refer to it as the processing engine room here in Excel. So that's it. You relate to data from various sources. Now, let me also add that the data we have extracted was from a particular source, web, internet. So the internet is a data source. So you must understand this perfectly. Now, that said, there are advanced Excel techniques for data analytics I talked about. Pivot table you'll be trained on. I told you what it is. I've just told you about the charts. Formulas you want to analyze. Okay, Excel functions, formulas. Power BI is also another tool I talked about. It allows you as a user to visualize data, share insights, collaborate. So in this, both in this onboarding, you've learned so far how to connect to different data sources like Excel and databases, which you will learn completely during the training. You'll be trained on how to connect to different data sources, how to build interactive reports and charts, tables, and create customizable dashboards to share analytics throughout an organization. Key features of Tableau: visualization, dashboard, data connection. There are different APIs. You'll be able to connect with databases, file, web APIs, and all of that. SQL. I've told you about the SQL. I talked about the select statement and all of that. So you'll be trained on common SQL operations for data analysis. We'll talk about grouping records by categories, calculating aggregates, looking at control flow statements, which has to do with logical operators, looking at joining, data blending, and all of that. Those talks about joining together data from multiple tables. So you also prepare your mind for this. Now, putting all these things together, your first step as data analyst is to begin by understanding the problem. Determine the key questions you need to answer. Metrics to track with analysis. You need to first of all determine them. Then go ahead and collect relevant data. Gather your data from various sources like databases, APIs, surveys that will help you answer those key questions. Move forward to exploring and cleaning data. You use querying and visualization techniques to explore data, to clean your data by handling missing values. We have issues that might arise that need you to do data formatting and all of that. You also move towards performing analysis. There are different kinds of analysis: statistical analysis, machine learning modeling, data mining, and all of that. Why? Maybe you want to find patterns, you want to identify trends, what we call trend analysis, pattern analysis, to uncover insight and all of that. So you must pass through these processes. You then move to visualize your results. It's your results you visualize, mind you. So you create charts, graphs, dashboards to be able to visualize those key findings and metrics. Then you start to make recommendations. You summarize your analysis into actionable recommendations. That's how you'll be able to achieve business objectives. Once that is done, you then deploy and monitor, operationalize the analytics pipeline, and continuously keep monitoring key metrics to ensure that there is what we call consistency. So thank you once again, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for staying put. Thank you for registering as part of our cohort here in Miramar Consulting. And I want you to prepare your mind for this journey. And part of our benefit is at the end of this training, you'll be able to beat your chest that yes, you're a data analyst. Please stay put and also remain committed to the training program. My name is Williams, lead instructor here in Miramar. Thank you.